The intersection of religion and politics within the Bible is a multifaceted concept that has influenced countless societies throughout history. At its core, the Bible makes numerous references to governance, justice, and the role of faith in public life, setting a foundation for how these two powerful forces can coexist. Religion, as depicted in biblical texts, is not only about personal faith, but also about communal conduct and societal values. Politics, on the other hand, is concerned with governance and the structures of power that maintain public order. This topic's significance lies in how biblical principles have shaped and continue to influence political ideologies and systems. Religious teachings can guide moral perspectives, inform ethical decision-making, and impact laws. For instance, the biblical principle of justice, epitomized in passages like Micah 6:8, which calls for individuals to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God, emphasizes the importance of fairness and compassion in governance. Furthermore, the New Testament highlights the balance between divine authority and earthly governance, as seen in Romans 13:1, where Paul urges believers to respect government authority as it is established by God. In real-world applications, these biblical principles have influenced various political systems. For example, the civil rights movement in the United States drew heavily from Christian teachings, with leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. using biblical rhetoric to advocate for equality and justice. Similarly, the biblical notion of stewardship has informed environmental policies, highlighting human responsibility to care for creation. Several opinions support the integration of religion into politics, arguing that faith provides a moral compass essential for just governance. However, potential challenges arise from the need to balance religious beliefs with a pluralistic society's diverse faiths and values. Controversies often surface over issues like the separation of church and state, where some argue that religion should remain separate from political discourse to maintain fairness and neutrality, while others believe that religious morals are crucial in shaping ethical policies. This point connects deeply with broader discussions on governance, ethics, and societal values. The interplay of religion and politics can shape legislation, influence cultural norms, and lead to both harmony and conflict within communities. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for grasping how biblical teachings continue to inform political debates and decisions, influencing both individual lives and collective societal structures. The concept of biblical foundations of governance refers to the principles and guidelines derived from the Bible that shape and inform systems of governance. This concept is rooted in the belief that the Bible offers timeless wisdom and directives on how societies should be organized and governed, emphasizing justice, righteousness, and the welfare of the community. The significance of this point in relation to religion and politics lies in its potential to influence political systems and leadership. Many argue that grounding governance in biblical teachings ensures that moral and ethical standards guide political leaders, fostering a just and equitable society. One real-world example is the influence of biblical principles on the founding of the United States. The idea of human equality and rights, which can be traced back to biblical teachings about the inherent dignity and worth of all individuals, was a cornerstone in the development of the nation's democratic ideals, as articulated in the Declaration of Independence. Another example is the role of biblical teachings in the establishment of laws that protect the vulnerable, such as legislation around social welfare systems that echo the biblical call to care for the widows, orphans, and the poor, reflecting a commitment to justice and mercy. Supporters of the biblical foundations of governance argue that such principles provide a moral compass that helps maintain ethical integrity and accountability in leaders. They contend that without a transcendent moral framework, laws become arbitrary, and governance becomes susceptible to the shifting sands of societal whims and personal interests. However, this concept is not without challenges and controversies. Critics might claim that relying too heavily on biblical foundations can lead to the imposition of specific religious beliefs on a pluralistic society, potentially infringing on the separation of church and state. Others argue that biblical texts are open to interpretation, and attempts to apply them directly can lead to divisive or exclusionary policies. Despite these challenges, the intersection of biblical principles with governance influences other aspects of the main topic significantly. It connects with discussions on moral leadership, the role of religion in public life, and the ethical frameworks that underpin political decisions. This foundation serves as a bridge between faith and public policy, highlighting the enduring impact of biblical teachings on contemporary political discourses. As societies continue to navigate the complex interplay between religion and politics, the biblical foundations of governance remain a topic of both reflection and contention, shaping debates about how best to integrate moral values into the political arena. The concept of separation of church and state in Scripture refers to the idea that religious institutions and government authorities should operate independently of one another, neither influencing nor being influenced by the other. While the Bible does not explicitly mandate the separation of church and state, several scriptures imply a distinction between earthly governance and spiritual responsibilities. One key passage is found in Matthew 22:21, where Jesus says, "Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's," indicating a distinction between secular and divine duties. The significance of this point in relation to the broader topic of religion and politics is profound. It underscores the necessity for maintaining a balance between religious beliefs and the governance of a nation, ensuring that neither domain imposes undue influence over the other. This separation can help prevent theocratic rule, where religious leaders wield political power, and conversely, it cautions against political authorities dictating religious practices. In practice, the separation of church and state can be observed in various real-world examples. In the United States, the First Amendment of the Constitution reflects this principle by prohibiting the establishment of a state religion and ensuring free exercise thereof. Conversely, countries with state religions often struggle with tensions between religious authority and political governance, as seen in Iran, where political decisions are heavily influenced by Islamic clerics. Proponents of the separation often argue that it protects religious freedom by allowing diverse beliefs to coexist without government interference. This idea is supported by many who value pluralism and the safeguarding of individual rights to practice one's faith freely. However, potential challenges arise from differing interpretations of what constitutes appropriate separation. Some argue that moral and ethical guidance from religious teachings should inform policymaking, while others claim this infringes on the secular nature of government. Controversies may also surface surrounding issues like religious symbols in public spaces or government funding for religious initiatives, highlighting the complexity of maintaining a clear boundary. This concept inherently influences broader discussions on the role of religion in shaping public policy and societal values. By exploring the separation of church and state in Scripture, we gain insight into balancing religious convictions with civic responsibilities, fostering an environment where both can flourish without overstepping their distinct roles. The role of religious leaders in political matters is a multifaceted concept that examines how individuals who hold positions of spiritual authority can influence political landscapes. This topic is critical when discussing what the Bible says about religion and politics, as it implicates the intersection of faith, ethics, and governance. Religious leaders often serve as moral guides, offering interpretations of sacred texts that can shape the political views of their followers. Their influence can mobilize communities, impact policy decisions, and inform public discourse on ethical issues. The significance of this point is profound. Religious leaders can bridge the gap between personal faith and political action, guiding adherents to consider biblical principles when engaging in civic duties. For instance, the role of Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister in the American Civil Rights Movement, exemplifies how religious leadership can drive social and political change. His sermons and speeches, infused with biblical references, galvanized a movement that sought to rectify systemic injustices, demonstrating the power of religious rhetoric in political activism. Another example is Desmond Tutu, an Anglican bishop in South Africa, who was instrumental in the fight against apartheid. His leadership showcased how religious figures could wield significant influence in political reform, often serving as moral compasses in tumultuous times. Supporters of religious leaders' involvement in political matters argue that these leaders can provide a moral framework that prioritizes justice, compassion, and equality. They assert that religious teachings can enhance political discourse by elevating ethical considerations. However, this role is not without challenges. The potential for controversy arises when religious leaders are perceived as overstepping into political arenas, potentially blurring the lines between church and state. Critics caution against the risks of religious doctrine influencing secular governance, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a separation that ensures freedom for diverse beliefs. The connection of this point to the broader topic lies in its demonstration of how Scripture can inform political thought and action. The engagement of religious leaders in politics can foster a dialogue that integrates religious values with democratic principles, encouraging believers to manifest their faith in societal structures. This integration, however, requires careful navigation to respect pluralism while pursuing common moral goods. Ultimately, understanding the role of religious leaders in political matters deepens the conversation about the intersection of faith and governance, highlighting both the potential and the complexities inherent in this interplay.